Hi friends, this is Marilyn from tarotclarity.com, and today's video is going to be a demonstration video addressing a very common question that many of us will get when somebody comes to us and asks for a question about love. I always like to give credit to the decks I'm using. In my video that I did earlier today, I did a review of this deck because I felt like I wanted to use it today, and then I wanted to give the people over at Dark Tarot a shout out. And you know, it's weird, the weirdest thing. I went to their website to just peruse it before I did the video. And it was a defunct link. I couldn't access the link. I tried on a number of devices, including my husband's. We were like, what the heck? I felt really bad. I thought, gosh, right when I'm finally getting around to doing this video for these people, the link is no good. Then a little bit of time passed. I sat down, had a cup of coffee, decided to, go move forward with this video. And I went, and the link is working. So go figure. Maybe it was under, maybe it was under maintenance or something. Just happened to catch it at the time it was going under maintenance, but it is now good. So if you're interested in this deck, go to darktarot.com. It's available for free download. You can't, sell it, but if you're a clever enough person and you know how to download decks and then, get them over to makeplayingcards.com or a place like that, you can create a deck for yourself, right? This deck was given to me as a prize. I won over it on an Instagram contest, and I did whatever they asked of me, and then I won the deck. So it was a nice deck, and I loved this deck. And so I'm so glad that the link is now up. I must have just caught it on a fluke occasion when it was down for maintenance or something. Okay, as I handled and mixed the cards, I put my intent, which was that this was for demonstration purposes only. It's not a real person. Nobody came to me with this question, today for these cards. And I went with the idea that a gentleman came to me. He's concerned because his marriage is on the rocks. And, he suspects, although he didn't ask for verification, but he suspects that his wife might be unfaithful. There might be some infidelity. And he wants to know what he can do to fix it. Now, this is an ideal kind of client, isn't it? Because most of the time the question is he or she cheating on me? And, tell me about their relationship, So, when I get a question like that, what I try to do is, contact them if they left me an email asking for this, for this kind of a question. What I try to do is, educate them by requesting them to reword the question or to tell them in advance what it is that I'll be looking for. Or what aspects of their question that I'll be working on. And sometimes I won't do that at all. I'll just hear their question, I'll hear what's on their mind, and then I'll lay the cards and present it in a way whereby, they own responsibility for the relationship. Now, I had already handled and mixed the cards. I shuffled them well, but I said, a part of my intent was that I would shuffle 3 more times before I lead the cards. Now, because the question of infidelity was raised, sometimes when infidelity is part of a question, I will actually lay the cards in a triangular formation. And I do that so that if there is any question of infidelity, I'll use these cards to address or answer that question. Okay, now we get to an ethical thing. Whether I see infidelity or not, I will probably never confirm or deny. Because in this day and age, there are so many volatile and angry people out there. You don't know who has a gun. You don't know who is going to really freak out, if a tarot reader, confirms their worst fear. You don't know how they're going to lash out. So I would never confirm or deny whether or not someone is having an affair, even if I saw it in the cards. Now, okay, I'm getting paid to do something, and they've asked me that question. So let me lay the cards, and then I'll get back to my thought. It's just not the responsibility I want to put on myself. I could never live with myself if I thought it was remotely possible that someone would take information that I gave them with the intent of helping, right, to cause harm to another human being. And yeah, I would never know that if that happened or not. How would I ever find out, right? But it's just something I don't want to make a possibility. So why do I use that part of the triangle to give me an idea? Well, the way I work it is there's a chance of infidelity. If a husband or a wife or a girlfriend or a boyfriend has a suspicion, it could be based on truth. I think sometimes if we think someone is not being faithful to us, we know it, right? So it may already be true. Now, this particular question, this intent, this enlightened person wasn't so much concerned about the fact that his wife might be having an affair. He suspects it, but that's not the part that hurts him. The part that hurts him is that he might lose her, and what can he do to fix it? Because that really was the gist of the question. So we'll use this part, this triangular piece, to say, well, I'm not going to confirm or deny whether or not she's in a relationship, and I wouldn't put it like that, but I would say, I'll tell you what, Greg, or whatever his name is, I just pulled that name out of the air, maybe the atmosphere is right, or is conducive to your partner looking. If you suspect it, then, that is a distinct possibility. If it's a fear of yours, then it is a possibility. So let's look at these cards and see what kind of person right now would satisfy her. Like if you guys have drifted so far apart that there's a chance that she's looking for someone else. Let's look at these cards here to give us insight into what person she's looking for. Are you able to return to that person if it was once you? Are you willing or able to become what she's missing or what she feels she's missing? You see, in that way, we're not using, we're not saying, oh yes, she's unfaithful and these are the characteristics of the man she's chosen, but more like, if that is a possibility, then, these might be the characteristics that she's looking for or that she needs. And, maybe you can adjust yourself to become that person. Now, if that's not something you're willing or wanting to do, then, only you can answer that question. But if you're looking for some soul answers on what you can do to save a marriage, then that might be, a useful way of using those cards. Now, another row might be designated to what can he do to get back on track? What can he do? What action, what things can he take? And then the bottom row, what, is holding up the whole thing, might give us an indication of, where they went wrong. What exactly was the catalyst? What was the thing that began as a downward spiral that caused them to get off track? By understanding what what it was, how he can, improve the situation, and not whether or not there is another man in her life, but, what are the characteristics of a man that she's looking for. With all this information, it might be a very constructive way to guide the client into salvaging, his marriage, owning, if some of the blame falls on him, owning part of what went wrong, owning, a way for him to fix it, and so that way we're not spying on his partner. I never feel comfortable spying on a partner. Who is she, who is he with, and what does she look like, and blah blah. And fortunately, after so many years of doing readings, you kind of attract the people that you want. You attract the right clients. But it comes after years of either educating them by redirecting them with a spread like this, and if they don't like it because they just want the dirt, they'll go to someone else, right? But it takes years of holding your own ground as a reader and saying, either redirecting them in a constructive way, and if they don't accept it, they just go to someone else next time. And so, yeah, you've lost a customer, but, maybe the next one will really like your approach and they'll stick with you. So now let's take a look at this spread and see what we can offer as insight to the gentleman. So you'll notice at the peak of the triangle here is the 6 of Cups. Now, the 6 is a perfect number. It's a beautiful number, and it corresponds to the Lover's card. And it is the suit of Cups. So I think what this woman wants is romance, right? Maybe she feels like the romance is gone. If you look at the corresponding card at the bottom, it's also a 6. Oh, excuse me, it's a 5. So it's almost a 6. And it's of the, conflicting suit, right? It's a suit of batons, which is a suit of fire. So we have at the top and bottom of this triangular formation, fire and water. So, and in almost equal measure, right? So it strikes me almost immediately because I see things together and collectively. There's also, I think, a few repeating numbers here. We have an 8, a 7. We have a 9. No, I guess there aren't. I thought there were. Oh, we have 2 5s. That's what we have. I immediately, kind of it goes on in the back of my mind where I'm not really like discussing it or verbalizing it, but I'll notice things like, the fire and the water. I'll notice the pair of 5s, that repeat. 5 is an unstable number. It's an agitating kind of thing. But at any rate, the woman wants romance. We have a certain amount of instability, of well-being. The suit of coins is the suit of well-being. So it could be material well-being, comfort well-being. It can be money. There's a certain amount of instability of her well-being, right? And, she is looking for romance, and maybe she is fantasizing about someone coming in to fix her life, right? That's a distinct possibility. She might be fantasizing about it. It might be something she's imagining will happen. Maybe she wants, maybe she just doesn't feel, maybe she's just bored, right? Or maybe she just feels they're in such a slump and she has this fantasy about someone coming in and fixing things for her. So maybe she wants excitement. Maybe they're just, complacent in their ways. Maybe, a little bored, maybe he's quit a job. Who knows? You could ask him because this is, a card of instability of well-being. So is it, did they have money troubles? We might be able to see that a little more clearly down here. And I don't see money troubles here. I see high numbers from the suit of Cups. So something highly, emotional, like 7 and a 9 are high emotional cards. So was there a big fight? Like when you see numbers that are high order of a suit, it's that quality of that suit at a high degree. So between these two emotionally charged cards, and the 9 is traditionally a wish card. So when you see this card, you might be inclined to say, well, your wish will come true. Now, it does happen to fall in the line of what went wrong or what happened. So in that sense, maybe it doesn't make sense. However, it does appear directly below the star card. And the star card is a card of hope. So even, no matter what line that the cards fell into, I would read these combination, especially since they're one above the other, is don't lose hope, because I don't think all is lost. I think there's a really good chance that this marriage can be salvaged. I think you can redirect yourself, to participate actively in getting yourself back on track with this woman. So despite the row it's in for, what happened, what went wrong, my compulsion is, to address it as I just did, is overridden by the combination of these two cards together. But at any rate, reading these, as I mentioned already, as, what could have gone wrong, like maybe there was a highly charged argument. Okay, we have fire and water here. We have something, very emotional people, a very emotional conversation or argument. And between them, we have an unstable 5 of the suit of fire, right? So I would say, well, you don't have to tell me if there was an argument or a disagreement between you that was emotionally impacted your dynamic, but, consider that there was something said or something done that really, really upset the emotions between you. You might want to either refrain from approaching that particular topic of conversation in the same way that you did, or if it was an action, or maybe it was something that you did that really upset the apple cart here, because the 9 of Cups is a very highly fulfilled card. It's a card of wish fulfillment, right? The 7 is a number of transcendence, of love going to the next level. So there's no shortage of love here. There's an abundance of love, right? But in between them, we have the very unstable 5 of the opposing suit of fire. And so something was thrown in there that really upset the emotion. So it was either an action or a word. And I'm thinking it was an action, because the suit of batons would be an action thing. It would be something that was more done than spoken. So I would ask, can you retrace that in your mind? Can you find that one incident that may have been something that either one of you did, which erupted, with a high level of an emotional response that, really threw things out of whack? And maybe you can revisit that topic and approach it with the understanding that, we're not going to get emotionally out of control, or if it requires an apology, we're not blaming here. It's not a question of him that he did something wrong. It could have been something that the woman did that he responded to that was upsetting, right? Or it could just have been, something that they did collectively and they're both blaming the other for the result. Sometimes when we do something, it's really hard to accept responsibility for. So maybe there's a blame kind of thing. I don't think it's our job to, well, maybe some people do, but it's more, my inclination is to help people understand, and to say these are the possibilities of what went down. Can you own it? Can you find it? You don't have to tell me about it. I'm not asking for information. I'm just asking you to consider that this is the place, or this is the starting point. This is what happened, and these are the things you might do to rectify or fix it. Okay, so how to fix it? So I have already addressed the Nine of Cups and the Star card. And in this row, how do I fix it? I would say, wow, this relationship is very salvageable. And unless you really screw it up, you will get back on track with one another. How do you fix it? Well, we have a 2, a 2 of Swords. So 2 is, a partnership of conversation, of intellect. Maybe if you can broach this topic in a more mature way to avoid a fight, that might be something you can do. Or you can just, sit down in general and engage in conversation. This card, the Page of Swords, kind of, pages are immature, right? They're young, they're youthful. So if there's not children involved, I don't know if, something that happened, maybe this incident down here had to do with a child. Maybe they had a disagreement on what to do with a child. And I would mention that since these 2 cards are kind of there, maybe one of them, you can't assume that, you don't know anything about people when they come to you. You don't know if she has a child, he has a child, or if they have a child in common, right? And you don't know if there's children involved at all. So you can say, well, was this incident, was it related to, a child? And if not, then, maybe this is a kind of like an adjective for how this was handled in a very immature way, with words that were, immature, right? Immature words. So then the suggestion here is to come back together with words, but with, more of an intent of, not being immature. This is the way we can fix it, right? The way we can fix it is with wit and with intelligence, and avoiding, any immaturity that may have appeared in this event. Now, if this card does represent that this might have, might be modifying these cards, and that the argument was about a child, then, just say, look, we've got to come to an agreement about, this scenario, right? And overall, I would say, yeah, they really have an excellent chance of working things out. And it doesn't seem as though they're very far off the mark. And as I said in the very beginning, with what is she looking for? She's just looking for romance. She's looking for maybe someone to come in and save the day, like a fantasy, because her well-being has been disrupted. And she feels that there is a threat to her well-being. So, if you want to be this knight for her, in a figurative way, of course, in what ways can you provide this woman with, less, with the romance that you had most profoundly? Right? I mentioned this already. We have the 9 and the 7, and those are profoundly emotionally satisfying cards. Disrupted by something, disrupted by a 5. So how do you get yourself back to that? Become that person. Avoid immaturity. Address the issues, or sit down and say, can we talk? And address these things with, mutual respect and dignity. And take the heat, maybe, be what she needs, Don't just say we have to talk and then blame her. Own some of it, right? And then maybe follow it up with, let's have a date night. Let's do something together. Let's do something fun. And don't let any of this other stuff get in that way. So you see, tarot can be so much more than saying, well, you're going to meet a new woman on the 10th of June, blah, blah, blah. I mean, some people are really looking for that. And sometimes I do those kinds of readings too. You know, it depends on the scenario and the circumstances. But when you have a client who comes to you regularly, right, and you have a rapport with them, and they ask an intelligent question that's not asking for when will this happen, or is my wife cheating on me, that sincerely wants to get back to a relationship, to make something whole again. This is the kind of way you can approach it to help them own the situation, understand what the partner needs, and to redirect their own behaviors to help them achieve it. I hope this has made sense, and I hope it's been helpful to you. Until next time, friends, stay well and peace.